The Great Horses of the East, Part 2, written by Slow Coach Studios. The trip to York was filled with stopping and waiting. Since they had been invited, they had gotten clearance to run on the main line. However, there were quite a few services that ran that day. Gordon had tried it to hide Sandwich the best he could. "Gordon, I know I came to Sodor undercover, but I think it's fine if I get seen. It's not like I'm in between two coaches and another engine," he said as he watched a passenger train go by.
"I'm not going to risk it. This is still the other railway. Nothing but corrupt engine owners."
Gordon huffed as the signal went green. "You haven't been here before, have you?" Sandwich gave him a sarcastic look.
"Of course I have. I was built here,"
Gordon said. "No, I mean now. A lot has changed since the 50s. I think people want steam back." Sandwich stared into the city. They had now made it to London. They had been traveling for about a day now.
"If they wanted steam back, then BR should reinstate it."
Gordon scowled. "I don't think they can. I don't even think BR is still around. I think it's publicly owned now," Sandwich said. Gordon was baffled. BR had brought dieselization, scrapped his brothers, and abolished steam. Now they were gone?
BR is no more.
He paused. "You don't look at the news, do you?"
"No. Why would I?"
Gordon looked back as they stopped at another signal. "To find these things out. Your little island seems to be isolated from the rest of Britain," Sandwich said as another train passed.
"It is not. We are perfectly connected."
Gordon frowned. "Are you? No offense, Gordon, but your railway looks the same as it did 100 years ago. It's like your entire island is a heritage line, preserved in time," Sandwich said.
"What are you saying? Sir Topham Hatt look us up in our sheds?"
Gordon accused. "No, it's wonderful that he still uses steam. It gives an engine a chance to live again. But you have to realize that you've spent this whole time despising BR, that you've shut out the rest of the UK. You don't have to worry about being scrapped, Gordon. You have a railway that cares deeply about you. Now, you need to let that spite go and embrace that UK charm again," Sandwich finished with a smile. Gordon was silent. His head buzzed with thought. Then he let his face relax. He had shut out the UK. He pushed the world away from him. And he had to admit, the island hasn't changed much.
"Thank you, brother. Maybe I have been a bit too harsh. It has been 50 years,
Gordon said as they started off again.
"Since when were you that wise?"
Gordon asked. "Spending 60 years in a Chev gives you a lot of time to think. I've come to forgive BR for the deaths of our brothers and sisters. They were just moving ahead with everyone else," Sandwich sighed. Gordon decided to leave it at that, wheeshing steam. The two soon made it to York. The sight was wonderful. They passed large crowds as they went. All of them were in awe at the sight of Gordon. But the real amazement came from Sandwich. People were chatting all about him. The news spread like wildfire across the UK. As soon as they made it to the National Railway Museum, reporters and crowds filled the clearing. "Looks like I've brought a crowd," Sandwich laughed.
"You did indeed,"
Gordon smiled. They slowly rolled towards the main building, when a whistle sounded from inside. With the wheeshing of steam and the chuff of the cylinders, Flying Scotsman rolled out of the shed, wearing the famous apple green livery. "Brother!" he called as he spotted Gordon. Then his mouth dropped. "Sandwich!" He smiled so big The sun nearly reflected off of his teeth. "Hey, Scotty!" Sandwich yelled over the crowd. Then there was a horn. A large flatbed lorry came around a corner.
"Good Godred!"
Gordon trailed off as he saw a large engine on the flatbed. The apple green shone in the bright sun.
"Ah, there you are, Papyrus. Great to see you again,"
Scotsman greeted her. Gordon was about to do the same when he noticed that she had no face.
"She's..."
Gordon looked bewildered. "Faceless. She was part of the group that didn't get one," Scotsman said. "But she's still our sister, nonetheless," Sandwich smiled. Gordon was overjoyed. He had all 4 of his brothers in one place.
"Welcome to the Great Hall. Come in. The others will be ecstatic to meet you both."
Scotsman beamed as he rolled back into the hall. Sir Topham Hatt came around to the front of Gordon.
"Now, Gordon, when I want you to enjoy yourself, I need you to be on your best behavior,"
Sir Topham Hatt said.
"Yes, sir."
Gordon was getting antsy.
"Good. Now you two can leave the coaches here. I've got to go talk with the director."
Sir Topham Hatt walked away to the main building. Gordon and Sandwich were uncoupled from the coaches. They slowly rolled away from them and into the great hall. The skylight was cast in a long ray around all of the engines. They were all talking and staring at the two as they uncoupled from each other.
"Everyone, these are my brothers, Gordon and Sandwich," who was a surprise to see.
Scotsman introduced them.
"I suppose it was bound to happen again sooner or later,"
Mallard grumbled.
"Oh, so when Scotsman has his family over, you get all fizzy. But when your brothers come, it's all rainbows,"
an old engine said.
"Don't worry, hon. You're welcome here."
She looked at the both of them.
"My apologies. I've never seen an engine like you."
Gordon looked her over. She had a large brass dome at the back of her boiler, with brass arches over her wheels. Her boiler was low, and her brown paint was glossy.
"The name's Coppernob, built 1846, on the Furness," she said.
"The Furness? I have a friend who's from the Furness. His name is Edward."
Gordon could see her face light up.
"Oh, wonderful! Please join us."
Gordon saw an open spot next to Scotsman and Coppernob. He rolled into the table and spun around, greeting all of the engines as he spun. He backed into the spot and saw that Sandwich had rolled forward, ready to get onto the table.
"Sorry, dude. I don't think they planned for you. The other spot is for Papyrus,"
Aerolite said. Then the door to the great hall opened quickly and shut with a slam. A man in a blue suit came walking to the table.
"Look, I had not planned on having you here. There's an entire riot out there to see you."
The man looked up at Sandwich, rubbing his nose.
"That's the director,"
Coppernob whispered to Gordon.
"I've spoken to your controller, and I'd like to put you on display for the people," the director said.
"I'd be more than happy, sir," Sandwich smiled.
"Good. Now, get on to the table."
The director swiftly turned and made his way back to the doors.
"Look at you, gone for 60 years and already making a name for yourself,"
Gordon smirked as Sandwich rolled onto the table.
"I mean, I am the new A3,
he said. Gordon could see that the attention was getting to him. Once he was on, it started to slowly spin. He was beaming with excitement. The doors opened and the crowd flooded in, gathering at the turntable. They took pictures and talked with the engine. One little girl asked him why his name was Sandwich.
"Ah, yes, the big question. Well, I got the name because—"
Gordon cut him off.
"Because his driver spilled a sandwich on his smoke box."
Gordon laughed as the Sandwich's face went red. The other engines laughed with him.
"Payback, brother,"
Gordon smiled. Sandwich looked at him with a smirk. Pay no attention to Cutie Pie. He's just jealous that I have the better name, Sandwich said to the little girl. Gordon quickly shut his mouth as the other engines burst into laughter. Then Sandwich started to get asked a lot of questions and having his picture taken. Reporters had crowded into the hall.
Here's the cavalry,
Scotsman scoffed. The reporters crowded around the table, pushing the visitors out of the way.
Hey, shoo! Let the people see.
Gordon tried to get one's attention. None of them noticed. They just kept taking pictures and asking questions. Sandwich looked worried, probably for the visitors.
I said shoo!
And Gordon gathered his remaining steam and blew his whistle. He let off after a second. He had gotten their attention now.
Shoo! Let the people enjoy that engine,
Gordon said. Who are you? Asked one of the reporters.
I am Gordon, and that is my brother. These lovely people came to visit him, not your cameras and questions,
he huffed indignantly. Who are you to say that? Another asked. Because he's the one who brought him here. Scotsman joined in.
He is our brother, and we will not let him be harassed, he said.
Yeah, I may not be a brother, but this engine here is a lovely one,
Copperknob said. The others joined in as well, all telling them to shoo.
I will answer your questions later, but for now I ask that you wait your turn.
Sandwich glared at all the reporters. With that, they started to back off. The hall was a lot more quiet now that the noisy reporters had gone.
Thanks,
Sandwich said before he turned away from Gordon.
That's what I'm here for.
Gordon smiled. Then he looked down to see a group had formed around him. He started to talk with the visitors, enjoying the chatter. The day was full of talk. All day the engines chatted with the people and each other. Towards the end, Sandwich had answered all the questions and took all the pictures. Papyrus had also been unloaded and was placed next to Scotsman, opposite to Gordon. It was now about 8 o'clock, and all the engines around the table were talking quietly with each other.
Quite a stunt you pulled today.
Scotsman looked over to Gordon.
I wouldn't say a stunt, more of a defense,
Gordon said.
Well, it worked quite well. It made the news.
Sir Topham Hatt came around to Gordon, stopping in front of him and Scotsman.
It did, sir?
Gordon asked.
Yes. Sandwich also made headlines. A3 returned from the dead.
Sir Topham Hatt held up the paper.
Ooh, quite the title.
Sandwich was smiling.
Here's Gordon's stunt.
Sir Topham Hatt turned to face the other engines.
NWR number 4. Gordon shoos away reporters at the National Railway Museum. With the return of engine 2504, Sandwich, reporters and visitors filled the great hall. It was then that the reporters started to bombard the locomotive with questions, blocking the view from the visitors. Number 4 then blew his whistle and told them to shoo, as he had put it. He had gotten all the engines in the great hall to shoo them away, letting the people enjoy the unplanned event.
Sir Topham Hatt spoke clearly for the engines. Look at that! Not even a day, and you've made the news, Gordon. Scotsman laughed.
That's not all. The museum was also contacted by a man named Donald Fick. It appears that he owns 2 A3 rebuilds, Sir Topham Hatt said.
Gordon, Scotsman, and Sandwich gasped. Who? Sandwich was beaming.
Lemberg and Pretty Polly. He decided to bring them here for the event.
Sir Topham Hatt smiled. Oh, great. More of them, Mallard grumbled. Shush, Copperknob said. The three of them didn't take notice. They just happily talked and reminisced about the past, later sleeping peacefully through the night. The sunlight from the roof had started to shine on Gordon's face.
Curse that sun,
he mumbled as he woke. He looked around to find the other engines sleeping, Sandwich snoring on the table. He was about to fall back asleep when he heard a whisper. "Hey, Gordon," it said.
"Not now, Copperknob."
He peeked over. Only Copperknob wasn't there. Instead, a sloped running board sat next to him. He looked up and saw 2 engines staring at him. Both had matching green paint. "Hello, Gordon," the other said.
"Oh, my Gotfred,"
Gordon slowly realized.
"Lemberg! Polly!"
he burst out. Suddenly, Sandwich woke with a start. "What?" he yawned, noticing the 2. "Oh my God! You 2 are here!"
"Scotsman, wake up!"
Sandwich said.
"What's the matter? Did Mallard finally lose a spring?"
he asked. "Rude," Mallard said from the other side.
"Lemberg, Polly, when did you 2 get here?"
Scotsman asked. "Last night. The men had to move a few engines around." Lemberg glanced at Mallard. "We ran all throughout the night. The main line was pretty clear," Polly said.
"Just so you know, Sandwich, you're a heavy sleeper. The men had to move you out of the way, and you didn't wake once."
Lemberg laughed. The others laughed and talked, sharing events about the past with each other. "So your owners bought you from scrap?" Sandwich asked. "Yeah. He put us in a shed on his estate, showing us up to visitors. He did keep us in running order, though," Polly said as he looked around.
"Man, it's good to finally be back with you guys," Lemberg said. "Agreed. It's great to know my brothers and sister are still around,"
Gordon smiled. It was true. This was the best thing he could have gotten.
"To the return of the horses!" Scotsman called. "Hoorah!" the others cheered. "Glad to see you all enjoying yourselves," the director said, stopping in front of Gordon, who was in the middle of his brothers and sister. "Yes, sir. Thank you for having us." Gordon thanked him. "Well, it's a one-of-a-kind event. I've actually got some things planned for all 6 of you. Once we get a spot cleared, we'll put Sandwich here next to Papyrus. That way the people can take pictures and enjoy the event." The director pulled out a slip of paper. "I've also been given a pitch by the LNER to have you 6 run down the main line side by side in celebration of Scotsman's Build Day. You'd start at the York railway station and take the main line to Darlington," he said. All 6 of them were in shock. "You mean we can race? Like race horses?" Lemberg held back his excitement. "Well, I suppose. The trains on the LNER have been halted for the run, so the line will be clear. If you do race, I want you at relatively safe speeds." The director pointed at Scotsman. "Especially you," he said. "Yes, sir," Scotsman said. "Good. Now I'm off to finalize some arrangements." He turned around and walked back to the main building. "Hold on," Sandwich said. "Who's gonna pull Papyrus?" He looked at her. "Why? What's wrong with her?" Lemberg asked. "She's been static ever since 52. I don't think she can run under her own steam." Scotsman looked over at her. Her elegant paint shimmered. She had the record for the fastest non-streamlined locomotive. It was a shame that she could no longer hit those speeds. "I will," Polly said. "So will I," Lemberg offered. "Then it's settled. Polly can pull and Lemberg can push. Me, Sandwich, and Gordon will be on the other line," Scotsman agreed. "Let the preparations begin," Gordon called. The others cheered and started talking, waiting for the race to come. The day went smoothly as the men cleared a spot for Sandwich. Once he was in his spot, the great hall was opened to the public. All 6 engines were neatly lined up one by one, just as Mallard had been before. The reporters had shown up just as yesterday,
only they were more conscious with their questions. Every once in a while, Gordon would have to glare at one or two of them. Many people came that day, locals, tourists, but most of them were enthusiasts. Almost all the people wished Scotsman a happy build day.
"So, brother, how does it feel to finally be 100 years old?"
Gordon asked as he finished talking with some enthusiasts.
"I don't know. How about you tell me, brother?"
Scotsman laughed.
"It feels quite nice, you little brother,"
he shot back with a smug face.
"I'm sure it does, old man."
An older gentleman patted his buffer. Gordon was in disbelief as the others laughed. Soon it was time for the race. The hall was cleared, and all 6 of them were shuttled out of the shed. They were all checked out, cleaned, and given a quick oiling. Papyrus was coupled to Polly. "Are we all ready?" Sandwich asked. All 4 of them blew their whistles. They were all warmed up and had a steady steam supply.
"Hold on a moment, Gordon,"
Sir Topham Hatt said as he walked back to his cab.
"I would like to drive my engine,"
he said as he climbed in. "It's all yours, sir." Reginald moved aside to let Sir Topham Hatt sit. "Off we go, then," Sandwich peeped. Scotsman led the way with Sandwich and Gordon following behind. Lemberg, Polly, and Papyrus weren't far. The cavalcade peeped their whistles to the crowds as they passed, starting to go faster.
"Off to the station,"
Lemberg called. They pulled into York Railway Station to find the platforms filled with cheers and clapping as they stopped at one of the platforms.
"Welcome to the great horse race of the East,"
someone said over the intercom.
"In celebration of the Flying Scotsman's Build Day and the return of 3A3s, they will race all the way to Darlington,"
it said. People cheered and hooted. The 6 of them looked flattered at the attention they were getting.
"Introducing our racers. First, we have the famous Flying Scotsman. Next, we have Gordon of Sodor. Then there's Papyrus, the record holder for fastest non-streamlined locomotive. She's being pulled by returnees, Lemberg and Pretty Polly. Finally, we have Sandwich, the one who brought the attention to the National Railway Museum."
The intercom buzzed off.
"Here we are, Gordon. Ready to be beat?"
Lemberg asked from behind Papyrus. Gordon wheezed steam from his cylinders.
"You wish,"
Gordon smirked.
"I want a clean race. No pushing."
The director held up a gun at the end of the platform.
"In true racehorse fashion, when this gun fires, the race begins," he called. "Get ready, sir," Gordon called back. "Give them hell, Gordon,"
Sir Topham Hatt said proudly. The engines wheezed and started to get ready. The steam sounded like the snorting of impatient horses.
"Ready?" the director called. "Set!"
The engines were inching forward in anticipation.
"Go!"
The director pulled the trigger. The blank fired from the gun. The engines jerked forward as they whistled long and proud. The race had begun. The crowds cheered and hollered as the engines gained more speed.
"See you there!"
Scotsman took off. "No, you won't!" Polly surged forward, dragging Papyrus and Lemberg with him. The day was beautiful as they raced on. They passed fences and cars. They blew under road bridges. People cheered as they flew past. They were now hitting about 50 as they passed the first station.
"Hurry, hurry, hurry,"
Gordon sang. The others were hooting their chants as they went. Gordon was probably the happiest he's ever been. His brothers and sister, who were thought to be scrapped, were now racing down the main line alongside him. He took in the fresh air and started to tear up.
"Are you crying, Gordon?"
Lemberg called over the sound of the wind.
I might be,
Gordon called. This was the first time he admitted to it.
I've dreamed of this for the longest time, having my family race with me,
he sniffed. Then let's make it worth it, Lemberg called, surging forward. They were now going about 70. The 6 of them thundered on. Soon they made it to the countryside, the calm grass blown about by the rumble of the beasts. The sight was beautiful. 6 extinct locomotives galloping through the countryside.
I'll see you guys at 160.
Scotsman pulled forward.
Onward!
Sandwich gave chase. Gordon huffed his hardest as Lemberg, Ollie, and Papyrus pulled away.
You've got this, Gordon,
Sir Topham Hatt called. Gordon gave it his all. Steam flooded out of his funnel. His wheels rumbled and his pistons ached. It felt weird riding on the wrong side of the track. Soon they made it to 90 miles per hour. The scenery blew past, seeming like blurs in the green sea.
Push on, brothers,
Polly wailed.
16 more kilometers.
Scotsman smiled. The 6 of them pushed on, the countryside now coming to an end.
Gordon,
Sandwich called back.
Yes,
he said.
I'm starting to slow.
Sandwich sounded worried. He had kept himself at 90 while the others started to go faster.
You can do it,
Gordon sped up.
I can't, brother. I'm too worn out,
Sandwich said.
Not yet.
Gordon heaved as he buffered up to him.
You're reaching that 160.
Gordon yelled as he pushed Sandwich. The engines looked like streaks of blue, black, and greens soaring through the air. They came back to the urban area of the track, the retaining wall lining the tracks.
Little more,
Scotsman groaned. Finally, with one final push, all 6 of them reached 100 miles per hour.
We did it!
Sandwich called, his face red.
You've hit 160 kilometers again, Papyrus,
Lemberg cheered. Papyrus's paint twinkled in the light. Suddenly, she let out a long whistle, seeming to cheer at the feat. The others were surprised, but decided it was best to whistle with her. The fleet started to slow after holding 100 for about 2 minutes.
There it is, Darlington Station.
Scotsman started to brake.
This is the final stretch, Lemberg. Hope you can get ahead.
Gordon laughed as they went on. They slowly rolled into the station. Crowds cheered and applauded as the great iron beast stopped at the platform. Gordon had made it to the platform before Lemberg, and Sandwich had picked up his own steam again.
Well done, Gordon.
Sir Topham Hatt got out of his cab as Gordon stopped behind Sandwich, steam wheeshing from his pistons.
Well done, all of you.
He looked at all of the engines.
Thank you, Gordon. I don't think I'll be hitting those speeds again.
Sandwich chuckled.
That's what brothers are for. Now, shall we head back?
Gordon said.
Later. Enjoy the audience,
Polly huffed. Gordon looked out at the crowd and smiled as his picture was taken. The night was full of chatter from all of the engines. Most were congratulating the 6 on their run. Some were talking about other things.
Oh, that must have been wonderful. Maybe I should be pulled next time. I would love to feel the wind on my funnel again.
Copper Knob had been put back inside.
Maybe next time, dear.
Polly was sitting next to her, and the others were lined up in their original spots.
Oh, that was marvelous! The air flying past, the sight of all the people,
Sandwich said.
Yes, indeed. That was the best run I've ever had. Thank you all.
Gordon looked at all of his siblings. This was it. The feeling of sitting with his once thought dead family was amazing.
I hope I'm not interrupting anything.
Sir Topham Hatt came around to face all 6 of them.
Not at all, sir.
Gordon looked down.
Well, I've come to say that Gordon and I are heading back tomorrow,
Sir Topham Hatt said.
But what about my siblings?
Gordon asked.
Papyrus will go back to Doncaster. Lemberg and Pretty Polly will go back to the estate.
Sir Topham Hatt looked at the 3 of them. And me, sir? Sandwich looked slightly worried.
That's the good news. The LNER has contacted me. They were blown away that you had survived, and when they saw the video of the race, they decided to allow me to keep you. They said it was best to keep a perfectly running condition locomotive somewhere where it can continue to work. They also made sure that I would pass along their deepest apologies.
Sir Topham Hatt smiled at Sandwich. Gordon and him were jaw-dropped. You mean it, sir? Sandwich was ecstatic.
Yes, I do. Now, I have 2 options for you. You can continue to work as a normal engine in service, pulling goods just as you did. Or you can stay at Vickerstown Museum. You can still pull trains, you just wouldn't be obligated to.
Sir Topham Hatt turned to him.
That's an easy choice, sir,
Gordon said, looking proudly at his brother. Well, not really, Sandwich replied, seeming to think.
What? Don't you want to work again?
Gordon was surprised. Yes, I do. It's just, well, I'm getting old. I'm 98, Gordon. You saw me during the race. I was slowing. I know you want me running alongside you, but I can't anymore. I will always be on that island with you. You can visit me any time, Sandwich said, looking caringly at Gordon. Gordon was silent. He was lost in thought. Then his face lit up.
All right. I respect your choice. Brothers forever, Gordon said.
Brothers forever. Sandwich looked back at Sir Topham Hatt. I'll stay at the museum, sir, he smiled.
Then I shall have it arranged. Welcome to the Northwestern.
Sir Topham Hatt tipped his hat. The hall was filled with hoots and cheers as Sir Topham Hatt left.
To the horses of the East, Lemberg called. Hoorah!
The 5 of them called after. The hall was full of laughs and talk as the night went on. Gordon and Sandwich pulled the coaches over the Vickerstown Bridge. They clattered against the rails. The 2 of them had left the National Railway Museum early in the morning. They had made it back to Sodor a lot quicker this time. The final pictures were taken at the Great Hall, and the goodbyes were said. It was hard to see his brothers go, but now he knew that they were safe. The trip back was filled with cheer of crowds as they passed London and other major cities. As they went through Vickerstown Station, hundreds of people stood at the platforms, all clapping. They blew their whistles as they passed and continued towards Tidmouth. Gordon and Sandwich had left the coaches at the station, backing into the shed. On the wall was a screen being projected. It was playing the start of the race. Gordon hadn't noticed the helicopter. As they entered the shed, they were met with an earful of whistles.
Welcome back,
James greeted Gordon as he turned on the table.
Hello, James,
he said, seeming to smile as he backed into the spot next to him. How was the trip? Percy had appeared next to James. It was marvelous, Sandwich said as he stopped next to Gordon.
Shush, I'm trying to watch. I've got a train on Lemberg,
Henry said, eyes locked to the screen.
Are you betting on us?
Gordon asked, slightly amused.
Well, of course. It's a horse race after all,
Duck said with cheek. Gordon and Sandwich looked at each other and laughed. Together they sat there and watched the race, enjoying the calls of the other engines. They were just happy to be side by side for good.
Hello, that was Great Horses of the East Part 2. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I did writing it. Quick thing, I'm sorry about the audio spikes. I had to re-record like a 2/3 of this audio book or audio story because iMovie decided not to save what I originally had when my phone died, so yeah, I nearly went insane. Anyway, so that's why audios might spike a little bit just because I wanted to get this done. But yeah, anyway. I hope you guys enjoyed this story. I know I did. I do have another one already planned, so I'll probably announce it soon. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.